Steps to enable virtualization in BIOS UEFI. Restart your system and enter the BIOS UEFI setup. The key to press varies by manufacturer, but is often one of these: Dell, HP, F2 or F10, Lenovo, F1 or F2, ASUS, delete or F2, Acer, F2 or delete. Others, check the manufacturer's documentation or BIOS screen for details. Navigate to CPU, processor settings. Go to the Advanced BIOS features, or System Configuration tab. Exact names vary by BIOS version and manufacturer. Look for an option like Intel Virtualization Technology VTX, AMD-V Virtualization Extensions, Enable Virtualization, set option to enabled. Save changes and exit. Save changes and exit the BIOS UEFI settings. This is usually done by pressing F10 or selecting Save and Exit. Reboot your system and boot into your Linux OS. Verify virtualization in Linux. After enabling virtualization in the BIOS UEFI, boot into Ubuntu or Red Hat Linux and verify it using :L CPU or egrep ovmx svm/proc/cpu info. If you see VTX or SVM in the output, virtualization is now enabled. You cannot enable virtualization from within the operating system using a command. The enabling of hardware virtualization, VTX for Intel or AMD-V for AMD, just be done through the system's BIOS UEFI firmware interface. This process requires manual intervention during the boot process to enter the BIOS UEFI settings and enable the virtualization feature. The reason for this is that virtualization support is controlled by the hardware CPU and motherboard firmware and not by the operating system. Why can't it be done via command? Security. Allowing software to change fundamental BIOS UEFI settings could be a security risk. Hardware control. The operating system runs on top of the BIOS UEFI, which has direct control over hardware features like virtualization.